Hey everyone, how's it going? As you can see, no hat, just because if I put the hat on, it blocks the light from my face. So no hat for this video, and I obviously didn't do my hair today. Now, it's obviously dark outside, I was driving, and I had this thought while I was driving home that I wanted to share with all of you here, which is a big one. It's actually updating something. Let's move over a bit more. There we go, that's better. It's updating something that I talked about recently on my YouTube channel, which is how long it takes to learn another language. Feel free to go back, probably, if you just search my name, Azren the Language Nerd, how long it takes to learn a language, I'm sure you'll find the video that I'm referring to. I made it not really that long ago. It was Azren's journal video, so feel free to go to that playlist and you'll find it. Episode number 50, 51, something like that. Anyway, and I was talking about the number of guided learning hours it takes to learn another language, which is great. And I outlined a whole bunch of numbers. As a recap, the rough numbers that I gave was, it takes about 100 guided learning hours to achieve an A1, 200 to achieve A2, roughly 400 to achieve a B1, and then roughly 800-ish, maybe 800 to 1,000 to achieve a B2, and then basically goes up from there. C1, I believe, I forget what the number was. I believe it was 1,600, perhaps 1,200, 1,500, 1,600, something like that. And then C2, I gave a number as well. And I want to kind of update these numbers a little bit because I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I think they're mostly correct, but there's some stuff that has to be slightly updated. The first thing is that achieving a C2, and really even a C1, the C1 and C2 levels in a different language, those advanced levels, I think it heavily varies per person. I think there's a huge, man, I don't like all that, there we go, that's better. There's really a big amount of variance. It will change, and it's going to be different. There are some approximate numbers, I'm sure there are, but it's really going to vary heavily per person, and that's important to understand. And the other thing as well, which, as I've been talking to more people, as I've been thinking more and more, when it comes to these guided learning hours, the other factor we have to take into account is the non-guided learning hours. That's a huge factor. You might have done 800 guided learning hours, right? But there's other things that are happening in the background. I actually think another element to learning a language is not just the class time and the homework or steps you're given by your teacher outside of the class. I think there's also an element of how intertwined is the language in your life. Like, you might be doing your classes, you might be doing some great written homework, maybe your teacher's been good, you've gotten the speaking homework, this listening homework, you're really firing on all cylinders. But there's also value of just like your phone being in your target language. That's valuable. There's also value of just listening to music in your target language. There's value in a lot of other passive things of intertwining the language into your day-to-day life, which is not simply calculable, if that's a word, calculatable, whatever. You can't simply calculate that and say, oh, I did 52 minutes of casual music listening. I don't think it's really going to work. So I actually think when you're looking at the times to learn a language and how long it takes, I do believe the A1, A2 numbers are reasonably accurate. I do believe that. I do believe that the B1 number and even the B2 number, again, reasonably accurate. Again, 100 hours for that A1, 200 hours for A2, 400 hours for B1, 800-ish, 800 to 1,000 hours for B2. I think those are reasonably accurate. C1, C2 gets a bit fluffier, a little bit more difficult to determine, but I do think they're reasonably accurate. But those non-guided, the random passive study you're doing has to be taken into account as well, and it will impact things. I think it's something that definitely impacts things. And, you know, it's important to consider that. The final thing, which I'll say, and I'll wrap this quick little video up, is that I think the best determiner for how long it's going to take is your own progress. Yes, I just shared some general statistics, numbers, blah, blah, blah. The better indication is, see, how long did it take you to achieve an A1? 50 hours, 75, 150, 200, and use that as a benchmark to say, okay, that's how long it took me for A1. I'm going to now make a benchmark guess on how long it'll take me to get to an A2. Because if it took you 200 hours to get to an A1, well, clearly it's going to take you longer to get to an A2, and every number has to be multiplied. Every number is gonna be more, right? So using your own progress as a benchmark, I believe, is a very, very good idea and something that I recommend. And yeah, I think we can wrap this video up here. Oh, very last thing. Understand as well that when you're learning another language, right, you know, having a conversational B2 versus having a B2 level to pass the B2 test, those are very different things. The test, if you really want to pass a placement test, that takes a whole other level of preparation than simply having an informal, in quotations, you know, B2 kind of level. Like my overall French and Spanish level is a C2, give or take, right? But for me to pass the test would require me to go study and prepare, because passing tests is a completely different skill set altogether. So anyway, I just realized I literally have very few moments left of like memory on my phone here. So we're gonna wrap this up right now. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll chat soon. Bye.